Hi.
Hello.
I'm Judy Green from Ron Green Wellness Coaching.
And I'm Yuki from Ordinary Family Food.
And together we are Digby
Busy
Busi Talk.
Okay.
Excellent. So today we're going to be just discussing a little bit about the decisions that you have to make when you are deciding how to structure your business, as to whether it's a big business, a small business, and whether you're going to be located in a rural or an urban area.
Right, yeah. And then we are talking about Digby Busy Talk. So we are more talking to Digby local people. But, today you don't necessarily deal with local people only. If you want to go online or you travel all over, you can, your customer can be anybody.
That's right.
But it's up to you who you want to target and then what kind of business you want to do. So today we will just for curiosity, what kind of differences we see between different location of the businesses and then type of the businesses and then we'll see. Interesting.
Yeah, and we've actually made a kind of a little grid
Right.
where whether you're in the city or in rural, or if you're a small business or a large business.
That's right.
And what really got us talking about this was our own experiences, and our past experiences always inform our current decisions. And I was telling Yuki that when I was operating Midwolf, I had over 200 SKUs, which are individual items that need to be tracked. It was an inventory. Some of it had items that would expire, so there's always a risk with that. And there's time involved in managing all of that. So it was a wonderful experience. I loved it, learned tons of things, but out of that, I've decided I'm not carrying inventory.
And then let me ask, where did you have the business at the time?
Actually, this is a very good question, because my business was rural. I was in rural Nova Scotia, not Nova Scotia, in Alberta, rural Alberta, and everything had to be shipped in from all over the world. So I had issues with couriers not finding my place. I actually had the big brown truck. People say, well, don't you just have somebody in town I could drop it off to? And I'm like, seriously, I'm paying you $150 to deliver this package. You have to drive past my house to the town, and yet you want me to have somebody in town to drop it off to.
Wow.
So yeah, there's other issues that you deal with being rural. And then most of what I was doing was selling online or at dog shows. So I'd be bundling everything up and then heading off to the local dog shows. And local in Alberta is very spread out.
Big province.
Big difference, exactly.
Yeah.
And also shipping out products, because I was shipping all over the world. So the import-export issues were at play there. So there was a lot of things that I learned about that, and a lot of things I decided that I find well I did it the first time, but it's not necessarily something that I would do a second time.
Yeah, I have a somewhat cross with your experiences. I used to live in Calgary, which is, of course, big city in Canada. At that time, I've never really dreamed about this kind of situation. But since I moved to Digby, I realized the big overhead cost is the transportation. And the other things, it's not just the cost, but also it's hard to schedule because you have less or very limited options. So you're not just me, but my general customers. I'm generous customers. They are so easygoing, and they think, oh, we can wait for a couple of weeks, whenever it comes. I do appreciate that people are so patient and then understanding here.
Yes.
So I thought it's one of the rural area. I think people more adapted to the situation.
I think so, because I'm sure that they've had experiences much like I did with the little round truck, where it's almost in a rural area, your business doesn't seem as important to some of the large companies because there's not enough of you, right? Like we pulled some numbers here, and in Nova Scotia, the population is 953,869. In Digby County, which is the area around us, is 17,323. In the town of Digby is only 2,060 people.
That's right.
To put that in perspective, Halifax is 403,130. So Halifax is just a little less than half of
42%.
42% of the entire population of Nova Scotia. So when you're in rural Nova Scotia, you kind of feel like you get the short end of the stick sometimes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's some data coming out that's showing exactly that.
Yeah. Digby County, not the town, the county is less than 2% of Nova Scotia population. So for some companies or businesses, we're just peanuts, nothing. So they don't really think, we lose them. It's not a big deal.
That's right. We're just a data point.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's a part of the reality. Not all businesses are like that. Some businesses are really nice to deal with anybody, like including us. But some businesses are not that way.
Not that way, exactly.
We just have to face to that. It's a reality.
It's a reality, exactly.
Yeah.
But it also points to how vitally important small business is in rural areas because the small business are going to be providing services that larger businesses might provide in Halifax or larger communities, but just it's not worth it to them to come into the smaller communities.
Right. So if you decide to have a small business in rural area, you have to be really creative.
Yes.
We have to take a totally different approach from large company, I think, or large businesses. Like I myself used to work in a city, and I worked for smaller companies, not the big companies, medium to small companies. So I learned more how those small businesses deal with the customers, what's the strengths of the small businesses. But I think you used to work in a big company.
I've worked in both large companies and small, and I've worked in the government with the military as well.
So you see a different aspect.
I do, and that information and that experience is vital, and it informs my decisions. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we don't say which is right or wrong. No. They're just different.
They're just different.
They serve different people in a different way.
That's right. Yeah, a totally different demographic. Something that's also very, very interesting and has been vital in the last 5 years of being in Nova Scotia is understanding your community. Like the environment, the people, and the culture that you want to be operating a business in. It's vital that you understand because we all make assumptions and we really shouldn't be doing that. You know what assuming does? It makes an ass out of you and me. Don't do that.
Good advice, yes.
Always remember that one when I start to assume something. Because there's good historical reasons that people are the way they are and have attitudes the way they do. Like one of the things that Yuki had said that really resonated with me is that when we look at our market and diversifying and our unique value proposition to a customer, we're not just looking at comparing ourselves to somebody in the same area, the same space that we are.
Like restaurant to restaurant type of thing.
That's right. Yeah. We are actually looking at, okay, our customer has X number of dollars to spend. So if we want them to see that our product or our service is of value, we may in fact have them in a position where they are comparing your service and the dollars that go to your service against perhaps getting their car fixed or, taking their daughter out for her birthday celebration. Like the money doesn't necessarily come from the same
category.
Same category, exactly. Yeah. And I think that was really, really a critical thing to take into account.
Yeah, yes. Like myself, as a customer or consumer, I gave up many things and I shift to healthier eating. And I used to have a, believe it or not, cell phone. Now I don't have it, which is not entirely convenient, but I'm happy spending my money for certain things and give up something. And we don't have cable at home, for example. These are just a little thing, but I think every consumer make a choice. They have only limited budget. And then you want to spend $3,000 for the vacation or $3,000 for some workshop, for example. It's a person's decision.
That's
and
right.
if you are attractive enough, you convince the person it's worth it to pay for that amount of money. They may change. Okay, today, this time I will spend this much of dollar for you instead of,
exactly
somebody else.
Exactly. And in my current position as a wellness coach, I'm working with people to really change the way they think about things so that they can really transform their lives. And that is in essence, I'm asking them to invest in themselves. And for a lot of people, that's a very foreign concept. You know, they will, you know, especially women will bend over backwards to get something for their children, you know, for their husband, for their family members. And often they're not valuing themselves at the same level. And, you know, I love the Japanese way of saying that you can't drink from an empty cup, and it's you should be sharing from your saucer. So your cup should in fact be overflowing in order to be sharing. Right. And I love that, because we really need to be doing more of that as entrepreneurs as well, because, you know, it's easy to work 24 hours a day in your job, absolutely, in your business.
It doesn't last for a long time.
No, you will burn out.
You're human, you're not a robot. Yes.
That's right. Yes. You will burn out quickly. So it's really, really important to remember to keep your cup full. So you do have to invest in yourself. And as an entrepreneur, it might be, you know, getting some coaching or doing mutual coaching like Yuki and I do for each other.
Yeah. That's actually, Judy has a point. You know, when you do the small business, you only have so many bodies, and then times your time. Versus the large company, they have so many bodies times time. So they have much more room to do things. And if you are trying to do the same amount of work with less scale, that's not realistic.
No, it's not.
That end up you work, you sacrifice your eating time and the sleeping, and then, you know, time with the family and on, which doesn't last very long.
No.
So that's one difference. We talk about the difference between large and small companies. Not only the size matters, but quite often the larger scale, it involves more components. And whether you do manage or franchise management too, the more you get, the more work you will have to deal with. And you really have to think about if you're ready for that, or that's what you want to do.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Well, and something that came up with a volunteer proposition that Yuki and I are involved in, which was Fresh Food Box, Digby, is that it's all volunteer. So we have a limited number of resources, and we're starting to really look at, okay, who's doing things that we can partner with in the Digby area. So just like Yuki and I partner with each other for a number of different events and things that we do, including we're going to be teaching an entrepreneurial 101 course through Nova Scotia Works, which we're really excited about, because they're talking about running it like 3 times a year. Yay! So we're really excited to be sharing this with local entrepreneurs. But partnering with people who are already doing something, leverage with them, so that you're not doing the same thing. Like what I'm seeing with activist groups for the environment in Nova Scotia is that we have really, really passionate people in all these different groups, but they're doing the same thing. So if they were banding together, I can't help but think that, you know, one group is better at this and they'll do that part. They may do the marketing, they may do, you know, all of the pretty banners and stuff that go up on social media. Another group might be better with getting in and making those connections with local groups, and then communicating with each other. So as an entrepreneur, you kind of need to do that if you're by yourself, because you can't do everything yourself.
She just bang on. You know, the small businesses, you can only have so much resource, because again, you don't have only so much bodies and time. Large company, because they have the mass bodies and time, they have the huge larger resources, which means, you know, the datas or the ideas, information and data, information and skills, or people's expertise or experiences, they are all resources.
That's right.
And then the big companies, they have the system to share and then utilize it in a bigger scale, while individual small businesses, they don't have that network.
No, exactly.
So there's no shared resources. So,
but there could be.
That's right.
Yeah, if we organized it better, we could. If we were aware that this is that model where it really is like departments in a larger business, you know, we can be small businesses that work together like those departments and really work with each other, because that's only going to benefit the local economy, and we can all grow together, which I think is fabulous. And some people may say that's sunshine and unicorns, but I like sunshine and unicorns.
Me too. But the difference is larger business, or its organized body, there's an organizer.
That's right.
So you, not necessarily you have to be the organizer. Somebody else is already set up everything, and you just fit in and
That's
utilize the shared resources.
That's right. And you come to them with a good value proposition that it's to their benefit to partner with you, and then it's a win-win.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful and a wonderful situation. On the other hand, the hidden downside is that makes some people very lazy because you don't have to challenge, right? You just do your part, and then you can access for already preset things. So that's my experience too. When you are really in a difficult position, you become very creative.
This is true.
Yes. So in that manner, entrepreneurship is really exciting. And you are amazed how much you can do because you are pushed, and then you try to solve the problems. And it's
challenging. It's exhilarating.
rewarding.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway.
I think Yuki and I really okay, so there are definitely some days where we wish there weren't quite so many challenges.
Somebody take care of me.
But for the most part, those challenges can be very invigorating. And when you find a solution to them, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
And then, just like Judy said, we are going to have a group sort of sessions, sets of sessions this spring. Coaching sessions this spring. And what we want to really emphasize or highlight is entrepreneurship. You are the decision maker. You have to step up and you have to start things happen. So make things happen. You have to start something.
That's right. You have to manage your risk. You have to know what your risk tolerance is.
Yeah. And it's still, when you work together, you don't always necessarily have to be the obvious leader.
No.
We just eventually find our own spot and then work together.
Exactly. You find the way you work. And I really like, Yuki, we were talking before we started filming where you said that when you came from Calgary, Alberta, and you came to Digby, you it was a very, very different environment. And in deciding to run your business, you wanted to start very, very small. And you did. You started small.
I'm a chicken.
But she was managing her risk, you know.
Right,
she knew what her risk tolerance was, and jumping in with both feet in an unknown environment with, you know, not knowing what the fiscal ramifications would be, she wasn't willing to do that.
That's right.
Some people are, you know, they have, you know, they've got a strong risk tolerance.
And then they get more excited.
I know, exactly. And that's awesome,
That's
you know.
right,
But knowing what your risk tolerance is really, really important.
Yeah, so know yourself is very important. Yeah, especially if you're an entrepreneur, I think.
Yes.
Because nobody else tells you what to do.
Nope.
So you gotta know yourself, and you gotta find a way to utilize your strengths the best.
That's right. And don't try to do it all alone. There's lots of other entrepreneurs out there who would love to sit down and have coffee with you. Yeah. I love that Yuki's husband, that's one of his best ways of networking with people is he'll take you out for supper or lunch. And you have this great talk and you get to know each other. Right, then you start to be able to see where, you know, you can help each other out and both benefit from that business relationship.
Just a small talk, but that's a huge value.
It is. Having that connection is vital because just because you're in a small business or you only have one or two employees or are all by yourself, it doesn't mean that you're in isolation. There are people all around you who have perhaps been where you are and have solutions to your problems. Hey, you know, if you can learn from someone else, that sure saves time. Yeah. And it's a lot less painful.
That's right. Somebody else makes a mistake for you.
That's right. Learn from other people's mistakes.
That's right.
Fabulous. Because trust me, you'll make enough of your own. So there's lots of different things you can learn from other people who've walked the walk. And you know, you may learn something, but it may not resonate with you either. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. You know, you've just learned something else about yourself.
And many people are so helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Very nice people.
Yeah. People love to be asked questions. Yeah. You know, I think it strokes our ego a little bit to be asked, you know, our opinion on things and in general. You know, people love to be asked. They love to be heard. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Awesome. So in the end, we just talked about our course.
Yes.
This happened because of this video shooting.
Yes.
I was thinking the other day, how did we start this class idea? The very beginning is this video talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we were talking about the entrepreneurship and what we can offer. You know, if it helps somebody, we would like to share.
That's right.
And
And what the challenges are that are unique to rural Nova Scotia,
That's right.
which really isn't being addressed anywhere.
That's right, yeah. And then I thought this is a resource. You know, we have been building up our resource, and I thought, who can utilize this resource more?
That's right.
Then I thought about Nova Scotia Works.
That's right. So partnership.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That's how your business goes.
And that, exactly. And so sometimes you end up doing a completely different business than what you first started off doing.
Yeah. Just so think about how to utilize your resource, not just for yourself, but for a bigger scale. And then all of a sudden, your business actually goes to the next level. It happens quite often.
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you learn along the way, and you make more partners and more opportunities come your way. It's definitely the way to go.
And it's good for the community too.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's all win-win.
It is. It's win-win. And it's interesting though, because that isn't always the way entrepreneurs look at it. I know that there are a particular business, and we're in a small town, so I won't say names, but they opened up a shop that's almost identical to one that's been here for like 30 years and actively shop the brands off of the other businesses' shelves. So yeah, you know how bad that is, you know? So they are actively trying to put the other one out of business. That is not cool. They will not get my business. And when we're off camera, I will tell people who they are because that is not the way we do things in rural Nova Scotia.
People talk.
People talk, exactly. And people support local businesses. They do not support backstabbers.
It could be more, that tendency is more in the rural area.
Yes.
Yeah, and then that's one of the, I think, the beauty of Digby.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and people have to understand that, you know, we've only got 2,060 people in town. You know, you're much better off
in the
county. That's right. So it's really important that you look for a service that's not being supplied, and really look at diversifying and your value proposition, what you can bring to that to solve that issue. After all, the service, you are serving for the people. So absolutely. If we ignore the people, then we get the sequences. That's right. Yeah. That's right. And then even if you are in a rural location, it doesn't necessarily mean that your target audience is rural. You know, so many businesses can do their business online or remotely now. Yeah. So that opens up who your audience is. So it's just important to know who your audience really is. Yeah. So there are lots of opportunities and possibilities. Absolutely. And I see that Yuki has a few thoughts written down about some of the challenges in rural Nova Scotia. Our lack of high-speed internet is a huge one. I'm very fortunate where I live. I have a high-speed internet. However, there's a lot of people who don't, and that really restricts the business that people can do because of it. But in case you're watching this somewhere away from Digby and you want to experience that, you know, no internet and I can't use my phone, come to Digby. Absolutely. Yeah, new experience. Very, very frustrating. Right. I know it's a top priority for the provincial government. And there are groups that are working on getting rural internet to be much more available. And I think that's going to really help drive entrepreneurialism in rural Nova Scotia as soon as we get that. Yeah. In the meantime, we should be creative. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Partner up with somebody else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. The power grid is another issue. Another thing. Yeah. Yeah. Again, some issues are so big. You know, you cannot change right away. That's why, again, I go back to my whole point. Those challenges makes you very creative. Yes. There's always some way, and then it makes you think out of the box. Sometimes people think it's crazy, but all brilliant idea comes from crazy ideas. They do. Embrace the crazy. That's right. We're so lucky in that manner. You know, we're in Digby and we have lots of challenges. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So I think we have talked about large and small businesses differences. Yeah. The city and rural. And it was interesting, Yuki and I were both laughing because we did this little matrix and you know, like a large business in the city would be like massive, and we're way at the other end, a rural small business where we're like right on the edge of the little box. But the size is not the matter, right? No. After all, if you don't have debt,
and you're making money, you're good.
Exactly. And that
Right.
comes to how you define your success.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, and then as far as you're happy,
Yeah.
it's very important.
It is. Happiness and satisfaction and joy are huge drivers.
Yeah. So if you have any questions or comment, please feel free to contact us. You can just write down under the
That's right.
you know,
Add a comment and
YouTube account, or just email us. Maybe you can find us.
yeah. Judy at Ron Green.
Yeah, and Yuki in what? Ordinary Family Food Family. Yes, you'll find us.
You'll find us. Awesome.
So I think that's pretty good for today.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us again for Digby Busi Talk.
Thank you. See you again.
Bye-bye.